Hey guys, this is Ash Kumar, DreamItAlive.com. Mr. Moon, I'm just curious. First off, what is your key to becoming successful?
Well, I think first of all, it has to be a belief in yourself and having a goal that you want to try and accomplish. And if you can believe in yourself, have great confidence in yourself, and have that goal of what you're going after, and then know that along the way of trying to accomplish that goal, you're going to go through adversity, you're going to go through trials and tribulations. Is how do you handle those situations as you go through those on your way on that road to success?
Why were you involved with this book?
Because a very good friend of mine, Dave Meltzer, who we're in business together as well as being good friends, we just got a chance to really get to know each other over the 4 or 5 years of our relationship, and I just really had an understanding of what he was trying to accomplish and who he was, and how he wanted to convey his philosophy to other young people, especially on how to find that goodness in themselves. And I felt like it was a very worthwhile project, and because I believed in him and saw how he had success in utilizing this type of philosophy with our young interns, I wanted to be involved.
You talked about in your forward that you're a big picture thinker, that you're able to see things from a big picture. How did you learn that skill?
A lot of it came through my college training from my University of Washington coach, Don James. He kind of taught that philosophy, and he was really big on goal setting, really big on looking at the big picture, but also seeing that it takes a lot of little pictures to get to that big picture. Whether it's your immediate and your short range goals that are going to lead you to your long range goals. So that's kind of where it started in college.
Last question, if you could talk to the younger version of yourself, someone who's just getting started in college, that next Warren Moon, that next athlete, what advice would you give them given all the successes you've now had in your life?
Well, the first thing I would tell them is try and find out what it is they have a passion for in life that they want to pursue. So many of people right now are in jobs and employment that they're not happy going to work every day. So try and find out what it is you have a passion for and what you want to do, and then go after it. And once you go after it, there's a way to do that. And it first starts with setting that goal, like I talked about, and then setting up a roadmap of what it's going to take to get there. And then again, knowing along that road, there's going to be some adversity that you're going to go through, some bumps in that road, but you got to keep your eye on the prize and continue to persevere.
Thank you so much.
All right. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you, sir. Hey everyone, this is the DreamItAlive.com show. I'm your host, Ash Kumra, and today we have a very special interview with the author and very well-known sports agent, entrepreneur, business extraordinaire, David Meltzer. He recently wrote a book called Connected to Goodness, Manifest Everything You Desire in Business and Life. And he actually had a foreword by the very famous NFL legend, Warren Moon. So this book blew my mind. As you all know, I'm a big fan of manifesting your dreams, visualization, using law of attraction to attain abundance. And I found this book to literally take all those concepts and more deeper concepts, which we'll have David talk about, to a whole new level. His book is really geared for any entrepreneur, regardless what stage it is, any student who's looking to find that dream job, and also anyone who really wants to turn around their life to do something meaningful and just significant. And David's background is just extraordinary. I mean, he's been in the sports agent, entertainment, marketing world for many years now. He's worked with some very famous people, many famous celebrities, athletes. He used to work with the well-known sports agent Lee Steinberg, who Jerry Maguire was based off of. And, David is just a very giving person. I mean, it's one thing to write a book about how to win in business, how to win in life, but I felt like David was coming from the soul when he was writing this book out. And so I really want to dive into David's journey, why he decided to do this book, and sum up some of the principles, and also really the intent of this interview is to really inspire you to purchase this book. I just wholeheartedly, just from a paid-for standpoint, believe every person, based on that description I mentioned, need to get this book. And so without further ado, David Meltzer, how you doing, man?
Very well. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem. So, David, let's start off in the beginning. Like, how how did you realize this? Why did you need to write this book?
Great question. I started off at a young age, very corporate, very focused. I was one of those people that wasn't extremely talented, bright, but I could outwork you, and extremely focused on overcoming any obstacle that was put in my way. I was raised by a single mom with 6 kids, and everything that was thrown my way, I was achieved to overcome any of those obstacles. And what happened through that is I had this great gratitude and empathy, this great empowerment, and made millions of dollars in my 20s and 30s. And as I achieved and manifested, as I thought everything that I wanted and desired, I thought it was a circumstance of me in control and me going out and getting everything that I wanted. And my wife, who's very spiritual, kept on trying to re-engineer my vision and understand how the universe works and how everything really came about. And what it took beyond her encouragement was for me to get a big slap in the face from the universe to wake up. I lost almost everything, not my family or my health, but financially. I went from millions of dollars into bankruptcy and went on a spiritual journey to figure out what it was that empowered me and how could I duplicate that, and not only duplicate that, but empower other people to do the same, whether they had gone through a similar journey of mine or not. I felt that I had paid a huge dummy tax, and I wanted to explain in a very pragmatic way how I believe the universe works. And as I went through the process of learning, I had so many people with what they called woo-woo or very spiritual guides, from healers to, the most famous, Tolle and Dyer and Deepak and all the greats that I've read. And it just, I understood it. It was complex. I understand quantum physics, metaphysics, the technologies of the universe. But I had to overcome the resistance of being, a American businessman and understanding things in a normal way for me. And as I went through and processed that, I felt, wow, what if I could take all of these great concepts that work, but put it to a common man, a pragmatic level that any manager, executive, associate, president, CEO, C-level suite executive, whoever it was, that it would resonate with them. And so I changed some terminology. I spent years trying to develop subtle differences in the way that we explain manifesting what we desire. And I think I've done a pretty neat job of putting together some straightforward principles on how to attract into your life exactly what you desire.
Okay, well, so many things I can ask from that conversation you just shared. First thing is you talked about the whole spiritual concepts, how you've been following the metaphysical. You've read these very famous people like the Eckhart Tolle's, Deepak Chopra's. I mean, for someone who is not familiar with that world, like for most, let's just say there's business people who want to better understand that world, like how can they apply the concepts you've learned from these people into their everyday life, and specifically for the businessman, person, entrepreneur, that kind of audience?
What I've done is divided these 6 different principles, the first 6 principles, into 2 sections. So the first 3 are understanding your own foundation. Number 1 is a principle, and that divides up into your values. You really need to know your own personal values, your experiential values, your giving and receiving values, and those are 2 separate ones, but yet the same. And then when you understand that foundation principle, you move on to your guideposts of clarity, balance, and focus, which generates that confidence, which is an energy that attracts. It's being, and you put it into some terms in sports, it's like being in the zone when you can't miss a shot, when the hole looks 16 inches wide, the basket looks 10 feet wide, the goal looks 100 feet wide. When you're in that zone, that's what confidence is. And then the third principle is manifestation. And that is a woo-woo term that I've tried to re-engineer for a lot of businessmen out there to just attracting. So it's very much different than using your free will to go out and get something. You actually can use your free will to connect to what's good in the universe and attract rapidly and accurately exactly what you want. So those 3 principles I've named these imagination principles. They allow us to imagine and visualize everything that we want. And then something really neat happens, and this is where people get lost in God, Buddha, Jesus, whatever they want. there's an inspiration that happens when we dream of things, when we think about and create a vision for ourselves. And what I've named that inspiration now is, in honor of kind of Warren, is this 12th man concept, right? There's a 12th man out there that Brett Favre never lose a game in Green Bay, and now Seattle is unbeatable in Seattle. And now this 12th man you should carry in your own life. And once we get inspired, now the last three principles take place. And those last three principles are discipline, strategy, and understanding. And that's truly the businessman's different in the spiritual world that I found is a lot of these guys that I knew that were really spiritual and woo-woo, they'd sit at home, get high on their mom's couch, and hope for Publishers Clearinghouse or the lottery. And they weren't willing to take the action with discipline, strategy, and understanding, where all the business guys that I worked with totally understood discipline, strategy, and understanding, but they didn't understand the visualization, imagination, and manifestation that they needed in order to be accurate and rapid in going and attracting what they want. So they were actually creating shortages and creating obstacles for themselves, as I had done in the past.
That's amazing. Well, one of the things that I want to dive into a little further before we get further into the book is you talked about manifestation. And, with DreamItAlive.com, manifestation is like the DNA of our whole site. We provide, a dream board, which is, this pictorial collage where you could set the right dreams and life goals that you want to build your perfect life. And we provide visualization tools and intention tools and all that. I'm just curious from your standpoint, what have you done from a implementation standpoint to see whatever you manifest comes to life? Like, do you do dream boards? Do you do journaling? I'm just curious, what you do, because it can't just be you meditate and you think it all through. There must be some practical tool sets that you use. I'm just using dream boards as an example because that's what we do. What do you use?
Right. So those vision boards or dream boards,
Yep.
They're available to you on many mediums. So although I do meditate, we have cell phones, computers, paper, all of these different things that allow us to visualize and to attract. And so whatever you want to define it as, I absolutely use dream boards and vision boards. And I don't necessarily anymore cut pictures out of the magazine like John Asseroff, and I see my house in Del Mar 5 years later. I use, and I am a strong believer in vision boards and dream boards. But I use different mediums now to visualize on that board what I want. So one of the key components in everyone's life, if you like to change your life in 30 days, now you need to do this every day for 30 days, but the simplest way is to put those first two words on your dream board or vision board or in your meditation, which is thank you. So if you say thank you before you go to bed or when you wake up, in 30 days, when you develop that habit and do it 30 days in a row, you actually will change your life for the better and attract more gratitude into your life, which is really unconditional love. And when you do that, the laws of the universe and your vibration will speed up enough where you're actually able to start manifesting other things as a first step. Thank you is the easiest way to start understanding how these dream boards and vision boards work. But use your laptop, your phone, notes. I do them all over. I used to have one board as I kind of worked on The Secret as a consultant with Lee Brower. I had my own board, and that was the early stages of trying to figure out how daily I can mentally visualize exactly what I want in abundance, peace, happiness, and harmony.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. I appreciate you sharing that, and it's really refreshing to hear someone of your stature that is really promoting these things, because that's what we believe in. So it's great to hear someone so successful as you advocating that. Just diving into the book, like I said in the beginning, this book is just a gem. I'm actually going to reread it. I read it a little fast because I had about a day to read it, but there's so many nuggets. And, I'm just going to share something to you, and I want to just share this one part, and you wrote here, I've been asked, how does meditation and manifesting differ from daydreaming? And manifesting has clarity, balance, and focus, as will be discussed shortly. With meditation and manifestation, I command the universe. Command here is actually defined as working with, and you can command as small, parentheses, to be grateful, or as large for world peace as you like. Daydreaming is simply allowing your subconscious to take over and letting things passively come to you. My question to you on that is, every person who has been successful has, maybe had doubts, or maybe it was at an early stage of their life where they're like, hey, I need something to show that what I'm doing is actually working. Like that first big win, or in the sports world, that first home run or the first touchdown. In your life, what incident happened that made you realize, okay, you know what? This whole manifesting and meditation and all these grounding principles really do work, and I just got to keep going. Like I just want to understand the earlier stage of you, because I'm sure you talked about it in this book, and I just want to know, what was that one winning moment, that first big win?
I had surrounded myself with the wrong people and the wrong ideas. And I talk about in the book how the two closest people to me, my oldest and best friend and my wife, kind of in the same little 24 hours, explained to me that I wasn't getting it and that I was surrounding myself with the wrong people and the wrong ideas. And although I was in denial that I was like them, that I actually was them. And what really was the defining moment that this stuff was working is that all of a sudden I had all of the right people starting to text me, call me, email me. So out of the blue, one of my childhood friends and another friend, and pretty soon, and my wife was pretty insistent of canceling out those people that were the wrong people. And I made a commitment to her that I was going to change the circumstances in which surrounded me, and therefore the things would change around me. And I understood that because of my mathematics and physics background, that if I change the way I look at things, the things I look at will change. And if I change the people and ideas around me, the people and ideas around me will change. And it happened. I started meditating, and out of nowhere, all of these close, real friends and all of these great ideas, and it was as if, I was being guided instead of always me leading the way. I just trusted the universe with this meditation. I trusted the universe to do what was good. I went back to my foundation. So all of my decisions were based off of these values, and everything was simple all of a sudden that became so complex, because all I had to do is go through these principles and say to myself, okay, that's the decision I'm going to make because this is aligned with these principles. And everything started coming my way rapidly and accurately. But the first instance was definitely out of nowhere. All of these people I hadn't talked to in 10, 20 years started email, calling, and texting me.
That's amazing. One of the other things you talk about in the book is, you've mentioned this too in this conversation so far, is you talk about how the brink of failure, you mentioned the bankruptcy, and I appreciate you being honest and sharing your life story, because I feel that, business leaders and people that we all aspire to, mentors such as yourself, it's great to see your vulnerability, and it shows that, as humans, we're constantly improving. Yes, we have flaws, but we pick up, we move, and we learn from it. Why is it so important for you to talk about that failure part? Because honestly, you have besides the bankruptcy part and the failing part, you have done so much impactful things for the business world and for the friends and family and clients. And if you work with Warren Woon as your business partner, that shows enough that you are pretty good at what you do. Why was it important for you to talk about the failures?
Yeah, I think it's the most important part. It's what I've learned the most from. I also see it as a club that I joined that, it shows my own enlightenment, that if you were to ask me in my 30s that if I could ever go bankrupt or admit to going bankrupt, the shame, blame, justification that would go along with that. And as I looked at my mentors, Einstein, Disney, Carl Fisher, all of these unbelievable guys went bankrupt multiple times, ostracized by society, considered and deemed failures far beyond one bankruptcy, and yet their desire and their manifestation, their focus has made them, those are three icons. Imagine Walt Disney going bankrupt so many times and coming home and telling his wife, don't worry, I'm going to build a kingdom about a mouse. But yet all the failure and all the separation and ostracization that Disney went through, he's the icon for entertainment. And even furthermore is Einstein. Einstein, he created E equals MC squared. It took 10 years for other physicists, other geniuses to figure out what he figured out. But in the meantime, he lost his family. He went bankrupt. He was a joke to people. And meanwhile, he is the icon. If you say the word genius, people say Einstein. You say entertainment, people say Disney. But yet their failures are what made them. If you're not failing, you're not trying. You're just in the comfort zone.
Okay. No, I take back what I said. Failure is the most important thing to talk about, which you just pointed out. I'm glad you shared that, and it's great to hear that again, because I'm just noticing, just in the general, just the comfortability standpoint. So many people now are talking about it's more easy now than ever to talk about the failures and stuff. I feel like society's clamoring to learn about how people like you overcome your failures, and it's great to hear your story on that. I want to dive into the forward that Warren Moon gave. It was really good. I mean, he wrote some heartfelt comments about you, and one of the things that he said was that, you have this ability to really see the bigger picture and really focus on the end goal and prize. And how did you develop that? I mean, were there some of the principles that you alluded in the book that helped you develop that? Because, I've found this too as an entrepreneur that, it's great to be on the grind. It's great to set goals, monthly goals, yearly goals, but that big picture, that big vision, whatever you want to call it, that's a hard thing to develop. How did you develop that?
It's a mirage, this genius of vision. And luckily, I was the CEO of Lee Steinberg, and Lee was a visionary as well, complete genius. And what I have found that genius to be, that enlightenment to be, is trusting the universe. I actually detach myself from the outcome, and that allows me to trust the universe that everything's going to come in the right way at the perfect time. And so that mirage of me being a visionary and a genius is really just allowing the universe to come to me with what already exists, will exist, or has existed. And so when I do that and I trust the universe and I stay within my principles, I know that I will manifest exactly what I want rapidly and accurately. So in business, when we do that, we look like a visionary because we tell someone, we're going to launch a sports portal for internships.com, and here's how it works, and this and this and this, and then detach from that outcome, and we just follow our principles, trust the universe, and all of a sudden it happens so quickly. My partner and one of my best friends, big brother, QB1 Kenobi, Warren Moon, sits there and said, "Oh my God, you're such a visionary."
Sorry, what did you call him?
Oh, he's QB1 Kenobi. He's the best quarterback, QB1, obviously number one, but he is just like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He has such wisdom and guidance, patience. He lives in a majesty of calmness that most people could only really imagine or aspire to. And I think it stems from the fact that he's played since he's 18 years old in front of hundreds of thousands of people until he was 44 years old. And then as an entrepreneur, businessman, and announcer, he's had millions of people adore him. And he just has a majesty of calmness that gives him just such wisdom. And I'm so grateful to have him as a business partner and friend.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, what else have you learned from working with Warren? I mean, the fact that you just shared that and you have him as your mentor, I mean, and I guess the question I'm specifically asking is, what should others find when looking for mentors? You just alluded that he's your mentor, he's your Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, what are the things that others should look for? Because it's, just so they can find the right mentors to grow them.
That's so important. So you want to surround yourself with the people and the ideas and circumstances that you want for yourself. So everyone should have at least 3 mentors at all times. And what I sought not only in Warren, but I wanted to surround myself with billionaires. I wanted to surround myself with Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I wanted to surround myself with people that were in this majesty of calmness, of enlightenment that could, as my transformation, I met Warren at the beginning here. I was so emotional. I lived, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs, I can hear it in your voice as well. You talk about the ups and the downs, and it just gets so exhausting that I was so happy, and then oh no, right? And it just started wearing, and I noticed that these billionaires that I hung around and these Hall of Famers that I hung around, and I recall back one of the best pieces of advice my college football coach gave me, not that I was a Warren Moon. I played at a Division III college, Occidental, because they would let me play. But my coach Weedoff, who was one of my mentors growing up, he used to tell me, because I played defensive back and punt returner, kick returner, he said, Dave, just keep playing. Right, because I'd make a great play, intercept a pass, or return a punt for a touchdown. I was at an all-time high, and then being 5'7" and not that fast, somebody would toast me for a touchdown, and I'd be so low. And it's just like being an entrepreneur, right? Big deal, crash deal, big deal, crash deal. And I learned how to just play the game every day, stay connected to goodness, God, the 12th man, whatever you want to call it. Stay connected and strengthen that connection every day so that you can manifest or attract what you want rapidly and accurately, and you don't have to ever get upset, and you can just stay in a happy, peaceful place. And those highs may not be quite as high, but they're real, and you're happy. In fact, when I speak around the country, I ask people, as we go through their different goals, visions, objectives, I said, but ultimately, if I could teach you when you open your eyes to be happy all the way through the whole day and night until you close your eyes, would anyone trade anything else for that? And no one would. That's exactly what we're looking for, is just to be happy.
Wow. That's deep. No, that's a very profound answer, and I can see why you and Warren have such a great relationship. And yeah, that's amazing. You know, I want to tackle one or two last questions about the book before we get into some more kind of inspirational advice for the rising entrepreneurs and business people and students that want to make their own mark in life. Could you sum up the 7, just for someone who hasn't read your book yet, someone who's like hearing this interview is like, you know what, I want to read this book, but I just want a little more clarity on the principles. Could you sum up the 7 interconnected principles? You know, just 1 or 2 sentences for each, just enough to give them like a feeling of, okay, I want to buy this book now.
I would love to. So the first principle is foundation. That's your values. The second is guideposts, which give you clarity, balance, and focus, creating confidence so you attract what you want rapidly and accurately. The third principle is manifestation or attraction, where you need perspective. I teach a AAA strategy, how to use your free will, and then how to empower others to attract what they want. The fourth principle is discipline, and I talk about habits and performance, a true value in the universe, as well as the Ben Franklin effect of asking and giving help. And then the fifth principle is strategy, where I talk in detail about knowledge, planning, emotion, and communication. And then the sixth principle is understanding, which is a type of awareness of knowing self-actualization, of comfort zone, how to press the universe, shift the paradigm, and also maximize your momentum. And then finally, talking in the seventh principle, which I go into even more detail in the second book, which is destiny, and understanding how you can empower yourself, empower others to empower others to thrive, and how important gratitude and empathy is in that empowerment. And that basically is the pragmatic, systemized 4 key elements to each view of how to manifest what you want in life and business rapidly and accurately.
Okay, well, if anyone who's hearing this hasn't gotten the book, and I think those principles alone should entice you to read it, because he goes into all those principles in further detail and some other, content that supports it. One last question about the book, and then I'm going to get into the inspirational advice, like I mentioned earlier. What would you feel is the end vision for this book? I know we talked before this interview about where do you see this book going, but what do you feel is the thing that you could say to yourself, okay, this book did its purpose, I'm content with it? Do you have anything like that? Any vision goal for this book?
I do. It's to empower others to empower others. So my ultimate vision is that these are very simple, pragmatic ways to change your life, and that they're so simple and pragmatic that not only can I teach you to do them, but I can hopefully inspire you to teach others. And if we do that, that's how collective belief is formed. And what collective belief is simply is that's how we affect global change. So, example, if I could teach people to be happy and teach them to teach other people to be happy, imagine how many things are going to fall away. All the shortages, scarcity, sickness, disease, anger, war will be gone. And it has to start somewhere. And I think the way that we can start it is to teach people to be happy and to teach others to be happy. And exponentially, we can have happiness and people can really enjoy their lives with peace and harmony.
Love it. Love it. Well, the final question for this interview is, if you could talk to, do you mind me asking how old you are?
46.
Okay, 46. You imagine talking to a 20-year less version of yourself, someone who's in his early to mid-20s, someone who's just getting their feet wet, and you had that opportunity to talk to that version of yourself. And if you can give them any advice specifically on, building that dream life or, doing something that's meaningful eventually, what advice would you give that younger version of yourself?
That's an easy one for me. I would tell myself to get out of my own way and to understand that the ego edges goodness out, EGO, of your life. That means drop the need to be right, drop the need to be offended, drop the need to be superior, drop the need that you always need more, drop all of these needs, your perception of yourself and the ego, anything that separates yourself, and take all of that energy you've wasted or will waste being right, being superior, being for accolades and awards, for wanting more and more, to being scarce, shortages, all of these ego-driven things, and turn that energy into a free will to do good and be kind, and everything will come to you. You don't have to create all these obstacles, frustration, anger, and disease just to prove that you can.
Wow, that was very profound advice. And, again, on behalf of DreamItAlive.com and the many people who are going to hear this interview and hopefully buy this book and just stay in touch with everything that you're doing, thank you so much for doing what you're doing, making a meaningful difference for the world, and looking forward to continue to hear how this book is going to thrive and hearing about all the great success stories from many of your readers. So thank you again.
No, thanks for having me, Ash. I'd love to come back and talk more about it. And if anyone wants to see more information, we have connectedtogoodness.com. We have internships.com. You can follow me at D Meltzer. My Instagram is at Dave Meltzer. And, of course, our business is www.sports1, the number like Warren's jersey, marketing.com. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us. And anything we can do to help you, please let us know.